Hi guys, this is Stacy from Underdog Wellness, and today I wanted to bring you through a Yin Yoga class. So Yin Yoga is one where we hold the poses for a longer period of time. Sometimes it can be, I consider it sometimes the lazy person's yoga, and I mean that in the best way possible. It really helps you get into a pose because you're holding it a lot longer, especially if you're an inflexible person, but also it helps to get into the fascia. The fascia is like a white web-like matrix that lays on top of our bodies, on top of the muscles. If you have a cadaver, they say that med students have to cut through the fascia to get to the muscle, to get to the rest. It kind of holds all of us in. I've heard somebody call it like a spidey suit, like if you have stretchy pants on or leggings, fascia should be able to move, the fabric should be able to move like those leggings move over your body. And what can happen is if you're injured, sometimes the fascia, wherever the injury is, can begin to adhere to the muscle, and if you aren't constantly getting massaged or moving that fascia around, it can adhere and you've got a lot less range of motion. Fascia runs, all the way from our heels all the way through the top of our head. Wherever we've got muscle, we also have fascia. I can give a better description in the box at the bottom of the video, but that's kind of a brief outline. So a lot of times folks are like, I'm so tight, I'm so tight, I'm so tight. Sometimes it may not be that you're tight. You may be tight, definitely. But it may not just be that you're tight, but also that maybe the fascia has adhered somewhere, and we want to get that moving as well. We want that, it's good to stay hydrated because we want that fascia not to be dried out. So Yin is a great place to start. It's also very relaxing. It's really good for downtime, to let the mind relax and release and let go. If you're a type A personality, it can be very challenging and maybe even make you angry. But Yin is fabulous place to start, especially if you're new to yoga or you're injured. It's not cardio by any stretch of the imagination, but it feels really good in my opinion. I teach a class out at my house. We call it Fascia Yin Yoga, which means speak your truth Yin. So we'll lay down and we'll go through the poses, and we're holding them for several minutes, but we also get anything off of our chest as well, because sometimes we do all the physical and we work, but we've got crap in our heads, in our brains, just stuff going on in our life that sometimes we need to get out as well. So there's no judgment when we do our Fascia yoga. We just, if somebody has something to say, they say it. Sometimes you're just asking the other folks, hey, am I overreacting to this? Is this, crazy? This has been bothering me. Is it me? Is it them? And it just sometimes helps you just to free your mind, and you walk away not only feeling relaxed physically, but also mentally and maybe even emotionally. You've cleared out some gunk. So that's what I teach. If you're doing this video by yourself, just kind of stay with it, and hopefully by the end of it you feel like maybe you've had a small massage. So we'll see how we do. Okay, so the things that you might need for this are bolsters, okay? So I've got a couple of them. These are pretty thin. One is longer than the other, obviously, but something like this is really nice. And what we want is, we like this thickness. It's not super, super thick. So something along these lines. A regular bed pillow might work well for you, but if you happen to have any pillows, sometimes we have those decorative pillows on our beds or our couches that are long and thin like this would be a great place to go. You can also get some bed pillows. They do have yoga bolsters that are kind of reminiscent of this. I don't own any personally. They tend to be rounder, but this came off my couch downstairs. Anything that's kind of thicker like this, that's going to hold you up and give you some support, because we want to be completely supported in all of the poses. We don't want to be straining or holding ourselves up. We really want to be relaxed. So there's no trying to get anywhere in Yin. You're really just trying to let the body relax. So if you're in a pose and you just feel like you're holding yourself up, you're working way too hard, okay? The last thing is a little ball. This one is about, I think, 4 or 5 inches. I think it's about 4 inches. It has some squish to it, so it's not super, super stiff. So for example, a tennis ball, not what we're looking for. We want something with some squish. You also don't want to go much bigger than this. You could probably go 5 inches. A lot of times if you have kids or you're walking through Walmart or Target, they have like little balls that are about 5 inches, they might be slightly bigger than this. And a lot of times they have Disney characters on them, or Iron Man or Spider-Man, that type of thing. those balls can work really well. And if you can somehow let some of the air out of them so they're squishy, even better, okay? So those are the props that you might need for our yin practice today. And I'm going to do this in real time with you because I find that it's nothing worse than starting it and then having someone be like, okay, now hold that for 3 minutes. Okay, do it on the other side. And then they go on to the next thing and you're like trying to pause it in time, and that kind of sucks. So I'm going to try and do this with you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we start at the sacrum. This is the way I have been taught. So we're going to go ahead and lay down. So we put that at the sacrum. We're going to lay ourselves down. You let your legs lengthen out. You let your body become very heavy. Now the sacrum, I forgot to tell you, in case you don't know, is that flat bony area. It's not your lumbar spine where you have that natural curve, and it's right before where your glute starts. So that flat bony area, that's your sacrum, okay? So once you get into your posture, you're going to let your arms fall where they want to. Your shoulders roll back, your palms might roll up. Your feet are just going to relax. They're going to fall open from the hip, and you just completely lay down and relax on your mat. Become heavy, breathe. You want to make sure that the back of your head is touching your mat. You don't want your chin forced or jammed into your chest. On the flip side, you don't want your head thrown back like your throat is open to the ceiling. You want your neck in line with your spine, so you want your head to be in alignment here. And then once you're there, take a nice big inhale, and then take a really big exhale and let your body completely melt into the earth. You can do that as often as you need to, especially if you feel like for some reason you're tensing up or pushing into the mat or pushing into your bolster. Really try to just be heavy and let yourself go. I'll try to talk a little bit to guide you through what you should be feeling or things you should be looking for, but for the most part I'm going to try to stay quiet just so you can really tune into your body and notice what you're feeling and even what thoughts are running through your head. It's important to be in tune with yourself. Okay, so we're going to put our feet on the ground. Lift up your bottom, and you're going to slide that same bolster down to your ankles. And you let your ankles rest on it. Your feet are going to fall open the way they want to, and you're going to let yourself become very heavy here. And just notice how that low back area feels since you've been on that bolster for a little while. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to push that bolster away. Now we're going to lay here. We call this rest, and these are in between all of the poses, that rest period. And we lay there without anything. And we just notice how our body is feeling. now we're going to go ahead and come up. I'm going to hit the stop button on our timer. And we're going to do what's called the saddle. So for the saddle, you get your props ready. So this isn't a fast-moving yoga. So you're going to put your big bolster behind you, and then maybe even put another one, kind of lift up and put it that way. So it's got a little bit of an incline here. All right, so one-legged saddle. What you're going to do is you're going to draw one leg back, your other leg is nice and long, and you're right up to the edge of your bolster. And you're going to go ahead, let me reset, and you're going to lean yourself back so that we're starting to get the quad to stretch out. So I'm completely into this bolster right here. It's actually quite comfortable and it's a little bit high for me. So I'm going to adjust mine, but if this is good for you and you're already starting to feel a stretch through the front of this quad, that's where you're going to stay. It's also great, this whole program that I've written here is really nice for chest opening. It's passive, but for all of us that spend a lot of our time in that forward, you know, where our chest is tight and our back muscles are overstretched, this is the nice place where this is a very mild sort of back bend. So that's kind of nice for the shoulder area to stretch out the chest a little bit. So you just kind of go a little bit further back, but you let your arms fall where they want to. The head's in line with the spine, and we just breathe right here, okay? Now you might find that your knee, so it's my right knee, if it's your right knee might pop out more to the right, or you might find that it wants to pop up. If it's uncomfortable, you can always pat it underneath so that there's some support. You don't want to feel like it's just hanging there, and you don't want your joints to feel really uncomfortable. You want to feel stretches in the muscle or, you know, the fascia, but not that you can feel what the fascia is per se. But if you're feeling something in the joint itself, be a little leery of that and make any adjustments that maybe you need to, okay? And the other thing is, ideally, we want our knee to line up with our hip joint, but for yin, you have some play there, because if you're just popping out to the side and that's where your leg happens to be today, because it's tight, it's totally fine. Over time, as you stretch out and lengthen, things should go back, you know, to where we want them to be. And again, as you're here for a little while, and you start to feel like, I don't feel the pull, it's not as intense as it was before, you have the option of starting to remove some of your bolsters and lay there without it. So you're back a little bit deeper, and you might end up finding that you've got that stretch again. So, you know, you always play with it and you're always improving, but there's no rush. We're not trying to get anywhere at any particular time. And then very slowly, let's use our hands. We're going to bring ourselves up and out of this. And we're going to release that leg. Nice and slow. Notice how your joints are feeling. Remove your bolster and go ahead and lay without it. So I'm going to push that out of the way. All right, and we're going to lay there without it. Again, noticing how the body is feeling.